like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next Yard Goat Media video. Welcome back to Yard Goat Media, and today we're going to be starting a new series called Weather That Works. The idea behind the series is that there's a million different techniques on weathering your cars and doing scenery, and there's lots of people that say like this works and this doesn't work and you have to try these ways. And so the idea is, let's go try a whole bunch of different techniques. I have a lot of rail cars that I want to get weathered. You can see I have these 3 box cars here, 2 of which I've already done 2 different techniques on, and we have this brand new one that we're going to weather just now. But I have a whole other host of box cars in the back corner here, and I just received 24 new box cars from Walthers that are all going to need weathering. So the idea is we're going to try doing a whole bunch of different techniques, starting from the easiest and working our way up to more and more complicated weathering techniques, adding in different things. So we'll be starting with some of the most easy stuff, the cheapest stuff to get started with. Then we'll be adding a bit more to it to see if how much that adds detail to it, all the way up to even using airbrushes and such to go from there. The idea is that way then, as you, the viewer, can better help kind of see as you learn, as you change things, as you can improve how that affects your weathering, and then also helps you dictate how much do I really need to actually invest. The goal is to expand this not just to weathering rail cars, but we have locomotives, to also doing scenery techniques. We'll be doing a bunch of the Walthers scenery kits, which we'll have in a later video, that we'll buy a bunch of those, and we'll try different scenery techniques as well. The idea is we can build up to a layout. So without further ado, let's get started and talk a little bit about what we're going to do to these cars. Okay, so let's talk about this first weathering car that we did. On this one, this is kind of the quickest and least expensive way of weathering cars. The tools that we use for this, and we'll have links in the bottom, is first a bit of Krylon matte finish spray can. I just got those off of Amazon, and hit a little spray of that. And then we use a couple of oil brushers here. So in this case, I mostly use black. Let's see here, Starship Base Sludge or Starship Filth. Either of these work. There's really not a huge difference between the color of them, being open and honest. So either one works. I have some links for those. They also sometimes are just more available or less available. We want to use several different tones of just kind of earth colors. So I like to have different gray ones. So like for dusty earth, some earth clay, some summer soil, a little bit of earth, and finally a little bit of medium soil. The big one is you want to have a bit of a range of colors for the earth tones. You don't need necessarily all these. You don't need exactly these either. You just want to have a bit of a range, some darker and some lighter, some grayer, some redder, something that has some variety to it, because those colors will help kind of build a more complex look to it. And then lastly, some white. And that is all you need to be able to weather a rail car just to get started going. Is some oil brushers and some matte finish from Krylon. That's it. Lastly, one other thing we need is one of these little nylon brushes. I'll have a link to them. They're really useful for kind of scratching out some of the details here. So again, the goal is to help make it so it looks like it's been a well-used boxcar. So we'll show the technique for this one. This one here is doing this piece here is probably one of my least, I'll say, favorite thing to do. It always just feels a little sketchy. It feels like you're literally purposefully destroying your rolling stock. But it does add a really nice feature to help kind of bring the lettering and such from brand new factory finish to something that's been worn down and weathered. Other things we'll need is some brushes. So I'm using, for this video, specifically just these 2 brushes. So a kind of a large flat brush. I think it's considered like a medium-sized flat brush here. Just a little bit wide. That'll do the bulk of this weathering. And then I use a small one here for painting the wheels. So you get some Krylon matte finish, some oil brushers, a nylon scratching thing. It's figure out what it's called again, and some paintbrushes. For the oil painters, you'll need also some white spirit, we have AK, just some mineral oils. This helps kind of dilute the oil brushes. You'll see how we use that. Kind of helps turn it from a solid paint into much more of a wash at that point. I also recommend getting some of these little cups here. These things are great, they're fantastic. You can buy them in bulk on Amazon. They're a little cheap. I typically will use one to paint for the white spirit. So basically, I just pour a little bit of that, which I'll just do right now into the thing here. So just a little bit like that, nothing crazy, and that will be what we'll use to paint the car, all that other stuff. Some other small things that you'll want is with some paper towels. I normally just carry a little bit of paper towels around. If you're feeling really expensive, get some lint-free rags, but that's not really necessary for what we're doing. This is so you can kind of dab the brush a bit and also help kind of clean up some wheels. So you can see from there. But before we dive into actual making this videos, let's highlight some of these cars here. So as you can see with this rail car here, so this is the quickest method, the cheapest method. The technique, we'll actually show it off a little bit here, is taking a little nylon scratch brush and going at all the different lettering here, trying to kind of wear them out a little bit more or less, especially you can kind of see right in the logo. Going and over those on both sides takes a couple minutes. And then we're doing, hitting it with the matte Krylon finish. Kind of help bring that shiny plastic down into a dull plastic. And then we're just using the oil brushers, doing lots of dabs, kind of building our layering, our coating. Depending on how you want to do it, I'll show a little bit in this video, you can do it in multiple layers where you'll put some oil brushes on, hit it with a matte finish, put some more oil brushes on, so forth. But depending on the look you're kind of going for, you can do it all in one go. And so you basically hit the paint with the oil brushers, and then you do one final spray with the matte finish. You're done with the car. All you have to do is the wheels, which is just a few seconds of oil brushers and matte finish. So this is the lowest method, and let's get started on it. So before we actually go dive into the rail car itself, let's go show off this example. This is from Rapido. So this is one of their boxcars. I have, basically what I did is I bought a collection of theirs. There are 6 packs of theirs a little while ago, now probably 2 or 3 years ago. As you can see, it's their X31A boxcar. It's a really great boxcar, great detail. You can kind of see some dust on this car from existence, but good news is dust adds weathering. All right, so let's get on to the first task actually, which is actually kind of weathering the details in this car. As I said, this feature is one of my least favorite things to do. It's kind of it feels a little scary kind of deal, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to use this nylon brush, which basically has just a lot of little bristles on it. Let's see if I can get this to focus nicely. We'll see here. Yeah, basically you can kind of see it's a bunch of little bristles on the very end of this. And basically the idea is that you're going to use that to kind of scratch up all these details in the car here, the logos. Because right now, if we go weather it, the rest of this car will look really weathered, but you'll still see the logo and the lettering and everything behind it will still look factory new. And so it kind of pulls away from the actual quality of the rest of your job that you're about to go do. So it's one of those things that I enjoy the least, but it goes many miles for actually making your rail car look weathered. So to do this, it's a really simple process. Basically what you're going to do is you're just going to take this, and it takes a bit more pressure than you would want to use, but you're just going to go up and down. You want to go in one direction because most of the weathering in real life, think about it, is going to come from weather effects like rain and such, kind of just slowly eating away at this paint and lettering over time. You'll see very quickly here, focus again, how just after a few scratches here, that P is starting to kind of go away. The nice thing is you can kind of control how much weathering you want this to be. If you want to do just a little light stuff, or if you want to go heavier, or you can have different regions. The trick I also try to do is try to go across the entire thing fairly even. You'll see kind of this, almost kind of bad area around here. That's just kind of dust and dirt from the actual brush getting moved around. So you can kind of see how that's mostly gone away. And then when we hit it with the Krylon, that effect will go away almost entirely. So don't stress about that too much. We're just going to go across here. I'm going to go for a little bit lighter of scratching on the cars this time, because the other cars I have a bit more scratching on them already. So I'm trying to have variability in these cars. So the last thing I want to do is have all my weathering look exactly the same. And again, it takes a lot more force than you think it needs. If you do really lightly, it really doesn't do anything. You need to have some actual force to it. Other trick I've also learned is have the bristles barely showing at the very end. Eventually they will wear down, and you'll need to add a bit more, which is by just turning this black end here. You twist it, and it gives more or less. But yeah, you want to have just a little bit showing. From here. All right. That to me looks pretty good on those letters. I'm just going to hit the rest of these just a little bit. Typically what I say is you want to not weather a lot of these numbers down here too much, because in real life, they try to take more care of those. They would typically try to clean those off a bit more and make sure they're visible, just because those are really important for the cars, for the crews to know. So that. Another one here is this part of the logo. So we're just going at it. Lots of little scratches. You kind of see as you start to do it, little bits of scratches will start to form as it kind of eats away at different areas and different points. Again, I typically will do a lot more. So just going to give you a reference example here. I'll typically try to etch away a bit more out of this car. I'm going to, but again, I'm trying to go for a little bit of a lighter weather on this one. So I won't hit it too much more. And then we'll just do these guys a little bit. Again, a lot of these things would be taken care of better in real life, so we won't hit it a bit more. And I've also noticed that small text will erode a lot faster than the large pieces of text. Gotta do the other side now. So basically the exact same process. There we go. So a few seconds, we've already gotten the first stage done. What I do in this case is I'll hit it with a little bit of canned air, or I'll just get a paper towel, dab with a little bit of water, and then kind of wipe it down. And then we will go hit this now with the Krylon, so the dull coat. I'll bring this down, basically get rid of this shininess so you can see all the reflectivity here. I'm going to make this so it's no longer shiny is our goal. So I'll be back in a hot second after we hit it with the spray can. Again, remember, you want to do it outside in a well-ventilated area. Obviously, you want to wear your face mask, all that kind of stuff. And with this stuff, you want to make sure that you do shake the can very well. If you don't, it will kind of leave almost like a frosted tips everywhere. So it'll leave like a frosting on all the little surfaces here. So make sure you shake the can very well before you actually use it. It's time to move on to the oil brushers. So the way I like to do this is basically trying to start with top to bottom, all different sides, and try to think about what would be affecting the car as it's living its life. So what I mean by that is, as it's going down the rails, there's gonna be dust getting picked up, so you're gonna see some dirt. You're gonna see mud getting kicked up from rainy seasons and dry dirt from dusty seasons. So you'll see more mud on the bottom, some lighter dust on the top, and then you're gonna have, since this car existed during steam days, is you're gonna have soot from the locomotive landing on top of the car. So you're gonna have the top of the car become blackened, and then the bottom of the car is gonna have darker dirts. In the middle, you'll see some lighter dirt. So the goal is to show that kind of detail. So we're gonna have kind of more of a darker roof, muddy bottoms, sandy middle. So we'll start with just some black oil brushers. Always want to give them a little bit of a shake. I'm just gonna go ahead and actually shake all of these in one go. All right, fantastic. So we're gonna hit this. And what I've learned with the dark colors and the blacks on the roof, you need a lot more than you think you need to actually get it to really show. So we're just doing lots of little dabs here, just to kind of help share it. And I'm never afraid to put too much, just because we can always remove some. You can also always add some, so it's not end of world, but I want to just get a bunch on here, especially for the black, to kind of help highlight, bring down the tones of this roof quite a bit. But then I'm going to go ahead and grab some Starship Filth. This adds kind of a gray with a little bits and notes of brown to it. So again, helps kind of darken it, but adds a bit more complex color to it. That's kind of the goal here. The whole idea is we want to make sure that we're adding lots of just different colors, because those will all mold together, meld together, and help kind of create new, interesting, weird effects. So again, don't be afraid of putting too much on there. We can always remove some later when we actually do the washing process. Go ahead and then also add just a little bit of white. The white goes a really long way, so this is the one where you want to add just a little bits here. But the way I like to look at it is, you think about your car, that you're gonna have just rain, minerals, that kind of stuff, just kind of build up and add to the roof of that. So that's kind of the roof there. Now let's think about the sides. So what I have here, selection-wise, we got some earth tones. I have earth clay. I'm not going to use the earth clay on these cars. This is probably a good color to use if you're painting something like, say, this Santa Fe Super Chief. Just because that this will kind of help, this rusty-ish color will kind of help show up on the boxcar. But with it being so similar to the Pensi boxcars color, it's not really going to show up much. So I don't find that it's very useful to use on the actual car itself. We will use it though for the wheels later on. Let's see here. The summer soil is really good for the dusty kind of color, so up high in the middle. And then if you want to add some medium soil here, that's nice because it'll help kind of transition from the top to the bottom there a bit better. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and start applying some of these things. So I always like to say start with the lightest up top. We're going to do this here, just lots of little dabs. I just want to go across everywhere. Making sure you get between the ladders here. The ladders are always going to be a little bit more difficult to get detail into them, but we'll go to it. And again, remember, we can always add more later and we can always remove some, so never be afraid to get paint on there. The nice thing is with weathering, the more mistakes you make, the better it looks. Because as you go to fix those things and you change them up, it adds that variety to it. It really helps it. So you can't really ever mess up when it comes to weathering. It's always adds character. And that's what our goal is to do. So go ahead here. Decided to add a little extra here just so it's a little bit variety. I don't want the entire car to be even. I want to have things in here. This last side. Alright, let's get onto this earth color. So it's darker tones. When we go to actually do the diluting this, all the colors are going to go down. So you don't want to put it really necessarily, you can put them at the bottom here, but you don't want to put too much at the bottom. You want to put it a little higher up. Basically what you're saying is that the majority of that color is going to be going down from that point. So you're basically saying, what's the top surface? How high do I want to start at? And then we can work our way down. Also mentioned, you don't need to get oil brushers. You can just get the tubes of oil paints. They work just fine. They're a little bit cheaper, so they're great options. These oil brushes are just very convenient to work with instead of having to, pour out a little bit of the oil paint and then use a brush to put it on. This makes it really easy to just quickly put some on. And then I like to use this kind of gray paint here as kind of like a medium mixing point. So it kind of helps blend across all the different colors between everything. Just a little bit up top here, just so we have a little bit of variety in that roof. That white. All right. Now we're going to take the distilled spirits and put into this little cup here. We're going to take just a little paintbrush. This brush we're going to get a little bit wet. I've used this in the past for painting the other cars that you saw earlier. Okay, that we're just going to dab on the side of the cup a little bit to kind of reduce some of that spirits in it. And we're just going to work our way down. And we're going to remember that the car, thinking about the car, how, dust, dirt, debris, and all that stuff is going to work its way down. And we're just going to work our way across. Get our happy little dirt. And the big one, we want to get underneath that rim there. So what I like to do is I'll try to squeeze it down and then work our way back. And we're going to do multiple rows of this, slowly building it up. Work our way across. You can kind of see how that white very quickly kind of overpowered the black and it's become very dark. And as the brush runs out of the spirits, so a little bit of dilution, it will basically it will take away less of that paint, so it leaves more of it, so every little drop becomes more effective. So the way we can kind of make it work more in our favor is we can either dip the brush a bit more to kind of help dilute what's there, or we can pull in some more paint to be able to make it a little bit nicer. I'm just going to go back across here. This is actually looking nice. Our goal is to just kind of go down in lines, consistently straight lines down across, because think about what the car's doing in real life. Rain's coming down, it's slowly running off the side of the car, and then it's kind of catching up in here on this little rim, and then it will kind of work its way off to the edge and off the car. Make sure I get all these little details in the very end of the car. Here, get a little bit more oil again, mineral spirits, and we'll repeat the process. Going back across. And you can kind of see, because I just hit the brush, or hit the spirits, that the brush has lots of little extra oil on it, a little weaker, a little bit lighter. As we work our way across, it's going to run out of the mineral spirits, and we can kind of come back here to darken up. I want to add more paint to this new side, but again, we can do that. It's nice and easy to add more. What we'll do before we add more is we'll go complete the rest of this car a bit more. We'll see if I need to add more in other locations. Yeah, there's a little bit of black hiding in there. We got the rim, the car nicely. All right, we're gonna hit this. And what I'm doing is basically just dipping it in the spirits a little bit, and then just patting on the side a whole bunch, making sure I'm not getting a whole bunch of residue left. And now we do the sides. And again, same deal. We're just taking from the top and we're just dragging our way down. I'm also trying to see around the camera. Let's see here. And then we're just going through. And again, we're going to hit everywhere again. So we're just trying to get the average mixing color more. We're just trying to get in our base point. And then we'll go back and we'll hit everything again. We'll try to soften some of these colors more or less depending on where we want to be as the car goes. So remember, we can always add more and we can always remove more. That's the beauty of these oil brushers. So these doors, I find it's easier to kind of work your way across a bit so you get the paint in all the different crevices, and then you can kind of come back down, hit a bit more. Working our way across. You can see overall this car definitely seems fairly light tones. So what we might want to do is go back and actually add some darker tones to it, some more of that earth notes to kind of help fill it out. Before we do that, I'm going to want to go ahead and hit it with some bit more dilution, so a bit more of the white spirits, just to kind of help soften a lot of these paintbrush marks. So right now you can kind of see it's very paintbrushy. I'm going to help kind of remove some of that. Let's go around the other side. So we're just trying to get things into the crevices to start, and then we'll kind of work our way. And I always like to hit the couplers just a little bit, just to kind of help make it so it's less of that magical black, or using plastic couplers, that brown color, just to kind of help bring it into weathering. Side 3. Car a bit. Whenever you're tilting the car, you want to be careful of the little step ladders there on the opposite side of the car. Sometimes those can get damaged. I have broken those in the past, mostly from transporting back and forth between the club layouts and such. But always be careful. The reality of the situation is, as you handle cars, these kind of details are gonna just unfortunately break. It's always disappointing, always a little bit sad, but that is the life. And we are literally actively trying to make our models not perfect, so who is gonna cry? Not I. Pretty close here to this first little bit of a rough pass. Remember, yes, everything looks very paintbrushy right now, but that's where we're going to come back a little bit to help kind of reduce some of that paintbrushiness. We're just trying to get some color everywhere, so that way we're not missing any spots. That's the big. All right, now that we got that first pass through done, let's go ahead, take a second, I always like to take a quick look around the locomotive, around the car, to kind of say what do we want to change a little bit. So on the roof here, you can see a bit of an uneven coloring. I want a bit more darker on this region here. So we can add a little bit more dark colors to this. The front here, you can definitely see lots of stringulations, lots a bit more monotone vertically. So we're going to want to head and wash that a bit more. That should help break up some of those paintbrush lines and also help make it so it's not just one uniform color. Probably want to go ahead and add a bunch more dark tones in the bottom as well. On the ends here, kind of the same deal. Like you can see lots of kind of brush marks. Paint's kind of overall not terrible. Definitely want to go ahead and get a bit more so it's recessed in to the bulkhead. In this car, kind of the same deal again. Lots of brush marks all across. And on this bulkhead, we also want to hit the couplers on both sides. Try to give them a bit more paint just to kind of help with that. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and add some color. So, going back in with some Starship Filth. Some dabs all along here. Also going to hit some on that side there. We'll grab some black. Fantastical. Let's go. Here we'll add darker tones down here. That's going to add. I'm going to do a whole bunch in one spot. Just going to help give a bit more variety. Fantastic. Okay. And repeating the same process here. Dab brush. Get a lot of that oil off. And just kind of work our way down. Actually, we're just going to add a bit more right away. Well, so it always takes quite a bit more than you think you need to be able to get those dark tones. They like to wash out pretty quickly and easily. Doing better. Probably want to do a third coat in that area later on. For now, if you notice, I didn't add more mineral oil here. That way, it kind of helps let it be a bit thicker. Try to get all those little details there. Nice, very nice. Definitely getting a bit more where I want it to be. Let's add a bit more again on this spot. Let's see how that looks. Kind of mix and try and learn and see what she does. That's starting to get a bit more to the dark color. So we want to get a good baseline. There we go. How's that look? Very nice. The roof, I'm pretty happy with that there. Let's got that variation to it. It's got, you can kind of see how some of that brown's kind of coming through on it. We didn't put any brown on the roof, but you still kind of see some brown from that Starship filth. And then you're seeing the darker colors there from this soot over time. So now we're gonna do that side body again. Since we want to lighten up that side body, I'm gonna hit it with the brush. I don't want to lighten up too much, so I'm gonna dab the brush on the paper towel a whole bunch to really get rid of a lot of that oil, just so we're getting a little bit added on. And then we're just gonna work our way. It's been better. Fixing the camera there. Yeah, I'm liking that pretty good. Kind of seeing a little bit more variation in it across, and it doesn't have as much of those paint breaks. You just want to have a little bit of streaking, just because in real life, rainwater is all going to kind of work its way down, work its car across. I'm trying to get some variability to it. I don't want it to be consistently even. I want it to be very abstract, we'll say. Mix in some brown here. I'm gonna add a smidgen of oil, so again, just a little bit of oil on the tip, very tip, and then again brushing it right off again, so it's almost completely dry. Pretty nice. Got the variation across, so it's not consistently even all across. It's not like, oh yeah, I have one color across the entire car. Just because dirt's going to hit the car in different locations, in different regions, at different times. And that's exactly what we kind of want to look for. Let's go ahead and hit the bulkhead a little bit more. I'm going to hit that with a little bit of this clay, just to give it a bit of that rust. Just a little smidgen on the outside. Obviously I don't want to clog up the springs and such, so that way the color doesn't function. Just a little bit, just to kind of help it. Exist. Just like that. Alright, onto this side here. Yeah, stick. Do this kind of hair. Try a little bit, mixing it almost a little bit. And then do the full strands. You can kind of see here, there's a bunch of paint just kind of pulled into the side here. I'm gonna go, I actually want to pull some of this paint away. It's a little too much for my taste. We're gonna go ahead, throw on there. The nice thing is, as you have this oil kind of, when you dilute the paint like this, what ends up happening is the paint kind of sits more into the crevices of details, just like the real thing. As you know, rain kind of picks up dirt, kind of go into the crevices a bit more than other spots. And as a result, pool in the small details. Try to show you the ladder, get all the little details of the ladder. Try to make sure we get the crevices as much as possible. Let's see how that's looking. Not perfect. We want to get some of these strains. Yeah, a little bit too much there, so we'll just work that a bit more. Tap the brush a bit. The nice thing is when we go put the final coat on the end, Krylon, it will kind of soften up some of these brushes as well. Alright, onto the back here. Pretty happy with this bulkhead as it sits already. Not really too much work to it, but just a little bit more. Gonna help soften up some of this stuff here. Alright. So I think that we have here is fairly well done boxcar. Just got a little details so I wanted to correct a bit there. But there we go. Look at this. We have in a couple of minutes, we have weathered a boxcar. Given some nice detail, not bringing it to real life, so it's no longer such a plastic toy model, but now something that's real we can work with. So now all we gotta do left is the trucks. So before we get to the trucks, what we'll do is before we're gonna touch the car at all, we want to hit it with the Krylon to kind of seal off all this paint here. Because right now, all this oil paint, you touch the car, the paint's going to come off on your finger. And oil paint's never really dry. So we want to hit it with the Krylon, just going to help make sure it seals it real quick. So I'm going to do that here off camera. Okay, now I'm back after the dull coat. I'm letting that dry for a minute. Let's go ahead and get onto the wheels. Touch this car off. You will notice the car underneath is not painted at all. In my opinion, I never really ever care about the bottom of the car. Some people may. You know, it's personal choices on those. Right now, our goal is to just remove the wheels so we can work on it. Just get the car off somewhere that's safe. I have some foam over there. And what we're gonna want to do is pull the wheels out, set those aside. Ourselves just the trucks. So great. Now we got the trucks. What I like to do with the trucks, I keep them a little bit simpler. In reality, when you talk about like the trucks and the wheels, yeah, there's mud and dirt get on there, but really the big predominant color. I see how hard that is to see on these, just because on this turntable, because of this is my don't care about the presentation, the paint booth, Lazy Susan, but typically rust is the predominant color, and I find this earth clay oil brush does a really good job of highlighting that rust. So we'll go ahead and use this. For these trucks, I just go really heavy on it. Get it everywhere. A bit more. Fantastic. We'll close those out. And then, let's just paintbrush going at it. Making sure I get all that paint spread around. I'm not going for a perfect coating. I'm not going for, oh, it needs to have every little bit of detail. Paint. We're just going for the, I want to not be that shiny black plastic look. Look on the bottom. Make sure we get a little bit on those details here. I always say the reality situation is that you're not going to be looking at these trucks super well. There's going to be an entire rail car on top of them. But having a lot of this does go a long way to really improving the look of the car overall, mixed with the wheels itself that we'll take care of next. I'm not going for truly a perfect, every detail of the car, of the truck is perfectly detailed. That's definitely wanting to come free. But we will ignore that happening, you know? It's not a problem. If you say it's not a problem, tell me I'm wrong. Just going around here, get all these details. Getting along. Alright, fantastic. And the last one. Just do a quick little spin around just to make sure there's nothing that's like egregious. See this one here. Do a little now. See. Very nice. All right, we're gonna set these aside. All we gotta do with these left is we'll hit them with the dull coat. So I'll do that off camera here again. But get to that. Let's do the trucks. These again, I'm gonna pull out the clay. So earth clay is what I'm using again. I chose one that's kind of rusty. That's really what I'm kind of going for. It's kind of a rusty color. There's some brushers that are better for it, but what I do for these is I just do a nice little stripe on both wheel sets. Basically, just loading up some paint that I can work with. A bit more paint. Definitely some dabs on here. The reason why I'm doing this is I'm going to use a finer detail brush, in particular one that's not. Sorry, apologize, I'm a little bit low. So all I'm doing is just taking this, hitting it like that. Just little bits of dabs. Apologize for doing the first three out of set. But yeah, basically just hitting each one on the edge of there. The reason why I'm doing that is this brush is covered in this paint all over. And so it's really easy to get paint everywhere that you don't want it to be. So what I do is I grab this small brush, I'll try a detail brush that's only going to have paint on the very bottom of it, and I can use that to spread this paint all around. And what I try to do is the only place I try not to get paint on is the center axle. Never gonna be perfect about it. That's the reality of life. But we try to limit that because we don't want paint in there. That will make it so your wheel's no longer free rolling. But the rest of it, I don't care too much because we'll clean it back up again afterwards. Like this. Nice. Got that. Just want to make sure there's no big blobs left over. Spread around. Fantastic. That's one wheel set. And repeat. So spreading around, we'll try to make sure we get all surfaces on the outside rim, and we want to get some of that inner crevice of it. This is a very quick and easy way to get a lot more paint detail. Now this turns your shiny metal wheel sets into ones that have been going for thousands of miles. Doesn't need to be truly, there's no such thing as perfect. There is no perfect weathering, and that is a factual statement on the other side. Working our way around, slowly spinning it. And very quickly we end up with beautiful rail car. And we'll sit down. One more in this step, and we gotta go clean them up before we put them back in. Those 4 wheel sets are done. Now this is where paper towel comes into play. So what we're gonna do is take the wheel. As you can see, there's paint on the outside surfaces. You obviously don't want to leave that because paint on this outside surface here. You obviously don't want to leave that just because it will that'll get onto your tracks. That'll make your tracks dirty, and try to keep that clean. So all we do is take the wheel, put on paper towel. We just press it and spin it. And all this paint will come right off. Nice and quickly. We gotta do it in 2 different spots. Sometimes it's nice to just kind of go back and forth on any area that's pretty dirty. And there we go. Nice and clean and shiny metal wheel set. And then I always try to make sure we get the center axle, because that right there prevent your wheel from spinning nicely. And that's the one big bane of doing wheels, getting the center portion to be clean. So it takes a bit of force. Basically what I try to do is get the axle to be kind of underneath my nail inside the paper towel, and it allows me to kind of push up against it and spin it. Do that a couple of times, we'll get all the paint out. Let's see if I get a little bit of extra paint. There we go. Onto the other side. That's one done. One complete wheel. 3 more times. So these are always nice. What I always recommend is just get some TV going, a movie going. You can get through these pretty quickly, especially when you have a fleet of them to do, which will be coming up in a later video. I have a little over 30 boxcars that all need weathering. So all of these bad boys will get kind of the same treatment as we kind of learn together. The next step we'll be doing some dry powders for the next video. We'll see how that compares to doing just oil brushes. And we gotta see how we can do with airbrushes, what that kind of looks like. If there's anything you guys want to see, feel free to comment below. Happy to make content that we want to look at. The thing I always look forward to is seeing this out on the layout. I always go to the Pasadena Model Railroad Museum. I've been a member there for a couple of years now. I always love it just because it is an insanely large layout. So it's always nice to be able to just go and run some trains in a prototypical way. Something that you can't do too well on a smaller layout. Alright, so that's all the wheels done. So I'm going to go ahead and get these sprayed, some Krylon to give them a sealing, get the wheels assembled, get back on the car, and we'll take a look at the final results. Alright, welcome back. Let's get this project wrapped up now. So, these have been hit with a little bit of Krylon, dull coat. So we're going to go ahead, get these wheels back in. Biggest thing, make sure they're still free rolling. Worst things that can happen is if you let them not be free rolling anymore. That is a sign that you need to go get some paint off of your off the center axle. If I don't, fantastic. So free spinning wheels, rolling away. So next, we just got them back in the car, and we'll have a completed boxcar. Make sure these cars are slightly keyed on the wheels, just so they don't free spin all the way around. And they're fantastic. I do like these boxcars quite a bit. A boxcar is a simple thing to get right, but Rapido does do a good job with these, so I certainly cannot complain too much. There we go. Boom. And there we have it. In a couple of minutes, we have now weathered a boxcar, taking it from the shiny plastic and transforming it into something that looks like it's been on the roads, moving cargo all across the country. And there we go. Next video will be us doing the same thing, but adding in pigments. Seeing how that changes the look of the car, I'll be using this exact same car, just building further upon it. So tune in for that one. Otherwise, this has been Yard Goat Media. Keep on training. Like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next Yard Goat Media video.